The night was quiet inside the human barracks, far out on the edge of the alien colony. The wind outside carried strange soft humming from towers that never slept, and faint whispers of machines hidden in the dark. Inside his small room, Ethan stirred in his sleep. His dreams were restless, filled with battles, deserts, and broken stars. Suddenly, a sharp beep cut through the silence. A glow lit up above his bed. Ethan's eyes opened, confused. A floating screen of blue light appeared out of nowhere. His name was written in bold letters. Ethan Ward. Match confirmed. Ethan sat up fast, his heart racing. "What the hell?" he whispered. Before he could even stand, the door slid open with a soft hiss. A figure stepped inside. She was small, delicate, almost glowing under the pale lights of the corridor. Her skin shimmered with a faint silver hue, and her eyes were large, deep, and sparkling like twin galaxies. She smiled gently, though her hands trembled as she held them together. "You've been matched with a wife," she said softly. Then, tilting her head with a shy curve of her lips, she added, "And that's me." Ethan froze. His breath caught in his chest. His mind screamed that this was some kind of joke, maybe even a trap. But her smile didn't look fake. It looked nervous. It looked real. He stood up slowly, keeping his eyes on her. "Who are you?" he asked. "My name is Lyra," she answered, bowing her head slightly the way her people always did. Her voice was melodic, but there was something strange hiding behind it, like a secret she couldn't speak aloud. Ethan glanced back at the glowing message still hanging in the air. Match confirmed. His instincts told him to push her out, demand answers, call the commander. But something about her expression stopped him. She looked so small, so vulnerable, as if she was just as confused as him. He rubbed his face, trying to steady his thoughts. "Listen, this is insane. I didn't agree to any wife, especially not an alien one." Lyra's smile wavered. Her shoulders shook for a moment before she steadied herself again. "I know this is sudden," she said. "It is sudden for me too. But the bond is sealed. It cannot be undone." "The bond?" Ethan repeated. She nodded. "Our people believe in pairing matches chosen by the core. The core never lies. Once it chooses, the decision is final. You are my human, and I am your wife." Her words hit Ethan like a hammer. His fists clenched. He wanted to shout, but the trembling in her voice kept him silent. For a long moment, the only sound was the faint hum of the machines outside the walls. Ethan stepped closer, his shadow falling over her. "Who sent you here? Is this some kind of test? Some sick way of tying humans down under your rules?" Lyra shook her head quickly. Her hair, fine and white as snow, fell over her shoulders. "No, I didn't ask for this either. If I had a choice, I would not walk into a stranger's room and say these words." But she lifted her eyes to him, shimmering with something between fear and hope. "If we break the match, we both face punishment. You exile, me. Death." Ethan's blood turned cold. He stared at her, trying to read if she was lying. But the fear in her eyes was too raw. His mouth went dry. "You're telling me I have no say in this?" She lowered her gaze. "None of us do. The core decided. And now the colony watches. They will test us. If they believe we are not truly matched, they will take me away. And they will send you back to the wastelands outside the walls." The words hung heavy in the air. Ethan remembered those wastelands, broken cities, empty skies, and monsters that crawled in the dark. Exile meant death. Maybe slower than hers, but death all the same. Lyra's small hands tightened into fists at her sides. For the first time, Ethan noticed she was shaking not with cold, but with fear. She was not a spy, not a trickster. She was a prisoner of the same game. He let out a slow breath. His soldier's mind told him this was wrong, dangerous, maybe even hopeless. But his human heart whispered something else. She was standing here, just as trapped as him. And somehow their fates were tied together. "Fine," he said at last, his voice rough. "But I need answers." "All of them." Lyra nodded quickly, relief flooding her eyes. She stepped closer, lowering her voice to a whisper. "Then stay close to me. Pretend if you must. But do not let go of my hand when they test us. If you do, they will know we are lying." Before Ethan could reply, a loud chime rang through the barracks. The walls lit up with a crimson glow. A voice, cold and mechanical, filled the air. "Match confirmed. Testing begins at dawn." Lyra's hand brushed against his, trembling like a bird in a storm. Ethan stared at her, caught between disbelief and fear, his heart thundering in his chest. He whispered to himself, almost too low for her to hear, "What the hell have I just been dragged into?" The red glow of the walls finally faded, but Ethan could not sleep again. Every time he closed his eyes, the voice of the machine echoed in his skull. Testing begins at dawn. He sat at the edge of his bed, staring at the alien girl who now sat quietly in the corner. Lyra's hands were folded neatly in her lap, but her eyes were restless, shifting toward him and then away again. She looked fragile in the dim light, too fragile to be part of a scheme. But Ethan had learned never to trust what looked fragile. When the first pale light of morning bled into the sky, a heavy knock struck his door. Before Ethan could answer, it slid open. 2 alien guards stepped inside. Their tall frames filled the doorway, their armor black and reflective like oil. "The Corps requires proof," one of them said in a deep metallic tone. "Bring the contract." Lyra stood quickly. Without hesitation, she reached into a satchel at her side and pulled out a folded scroll. Its material shimmered between cloth and crystal, glowing faintly with etched letters. She clutched it against her chest and looked to Ethan. "This will explain," she whispered. Ethan frowned. "You've been carrying that since last night." She nodded, though her face was pale. Then she slowly unrolled the scroll. Strange symbols danced across its surface, shifting between alien script and human words. Ethan leaned forward, his eyes narrowing as he tried to make sense of it. The text pulsed with life, as if the contract itself was breathing. He read aloud, "By decree of the Corps, the match between Lyra of House Verin and Ethan Ward of Earth is sealed. The bond is binding. Failure to honor the union will result in termination of the bonded." He stopped. His voice dropped lower. "Termination?" Lyra swallowed hard. "For me, death if I am rejected. For you, exile beyond the walls." The alien guards stood silent, watching closely, their weapons glowing faintly at their sides. It was clear this wasn't just some tradition. This was law. Ethan shoved the scroll back at her. "This is insane. I never agreed to this." "No one asked me." Lyra's voice trembled. "The Corps doesn't ask. It decides. You and I. We were chosen. If you refuse, they will destroy me before your eyes." For a moment, the room felt smaller, airless. Ethan's fists clenched. He wanted to argue, to fight, to throw the contract back into the guards' faces. But the words on the glowing scroll were alive, binding, undeniable. The guards' eyes flashed. "Do you accept the bond?" Ethan glanced at Lyra. Her silver lashes lowered, her lips pressed together in fear. For a brief second, she looked like someone about to be executed. Ethan's throat tightened. He hated the trap, but more than that, he hated the thought of her being killed just because of him. He forced the word out. "Yes." The guards turned and left without a word. The door slid shut, leaving a heavy silence behind. Lyra exhaled shakily and sat down again, the contract glowing faintly between them. "You saved me," she said softly. "For now." Ethan stared at the scroll. "For now? What do you mean?" She hesitated, then whispered, the contract is not enough. They will test us in many ways. To prove we are real. To prove we are not lying. Ethan rubbed his temple. And if they think we are? Lyra's lips parted, but she didn't answer. Her silence was louder than words. A knot twisted in Ethan's chest. He had survived wars, deserts, starvation, but this? This was a cage disguised as marriage. And the worst part was, he was no longer the only prisoner. That night, as the sun sank behind the alien towers, Ethan sat across from Lyra in the small dining hall. A meal had been brought: strange fruits, glowing bread, and steaming broth that smelled like metal. Neither of them touched it. Lyra finally broke the silence. "There's something else you must know." Ethan looked up. "What?" Her eyes flicked to the shadows on the walls, as if afraid someone might be listening. She leaned closer, her whisper sharp. "The Corps does not just choose matches for love. It chooses matches for survival. You were not chosen by chance." His brows furrowed. "Then why me?" Her gaze locked with his, and for a brief moment, her fear turned into something else, something heavier, almost desperate. "Because only you can keep me alive." Ethan froze, the weight of her words sinking into him. He wanted to ask more, to demand every secret she was hiding. But before he could, the chime rang out again, filling the hall with that same cold mechanical voice. "First trial begins tomorrow. The bond will be tested." Lyra's fingers clutched the edge of the table. She whispered so faintly he almost didn't hear her. "If we fail, Ethan, both of us die." Ethan leaned back, his jaw tight, his mind racing. For the first time, he realized this wasn't just about him anymore. The Corps hadn't given him a wife. It had given him a chain dot, and he was starting to wonder just how deep that chain went. The night felt heavier than the one before. Ethan lay awake on the narrow bed, staring at the ceiling that hummed with hidden machines. Lyra was across the room, curled on a thin mat. Her breathing was soft, but he knew she was not asleep either. He turned his head toward her. "You're hiding something," he said quietly. Her eyes opened in the dim light. She didn't deny it. She only whispered back, "If I tell you, you will hate me." Ethan pushed himself up on one elbow. "Hate you?" "Lyra, they forced us into this. If there's something I need to know, tell me now before it's too late." She sat up slowly, her silver hair falling over her shoulders. For a moment, she looked so small, so breakable, like the contract had stolen her strength. Then she lifted her hand, and the air between them shimmered. A faint glow spilled from her palm, soft at first, then growing brighter. The room lit up with waves of energy, bending the air, shaking the metal walls. Ethan's eyes widened. He had seen weapons, bombs, machines of war, but nothing like this. This was raw power, alive and unstable. Lyra quickly closed her hand, cutting off the light. The room went silent again, except for Ethan's pounding heartbeat. "What was that?" he whispered. Her voice trembled. "The reason the Corps chose you. I was born with a power I cannot control. My people fear it. They say it is dangerous, cursed. If it grows wild, it could burn half the colony in a single breath." Ethan swallowed hard. "So they match you with me? Why? What do I have to do with that?" Lyra's eyes glistened. "Humans are different. Your bodies, your presence, it calms the energy. When you are close to me, it weakens. Without you, it rises. If I lose control, everyone will know what I am." Ethan leaned back, his chest heavy. He finally understood. This wasn't marriage. It was containment. The Corps hadn't given him a wife. It had chained him to a living weapon. "So I'm not your husband," he said bitterly. "I'm your leash." Lyra's face tightened with pain. She didn't argue. Her silence was the loudest answer. Ethan stood, pacing the small room. His fists curled tight. "You should have told me from the start," her voice cracked. If I told you, would you have accepted me? Or would you have let them kill me? He froze, the truth stung. Deep down, he knew she was right. The silence stretched until the first morning chime echoed through the walls. A voice followed, cold and sharp. Bond test begin now. Report to the chamber. Ethan's jaw tightened. Lyra stood, her hands trembling. She looked at him as though searching for an anchor. Stay close to me, she whispered. If you move away, they will see the energy. They will know. Together they walked through the steel corridors. Guards followed, their weapons glowing faintly. Other aliens peeked from doorways, whispering, staring at the human and the petite girl walking hand in hand. Ethan could feel their eyes burning into his back. At last, the doors of the chamber slid open. Inside was a vast hall, its floor smooth and black like glass. At the center stood a great pillar of light, pulsing with a rhythm like a heartbeat. Around the edges, rows of alien elders watched in silence, their robes trailing across the ground. One elder spoke. His voice was deep, almost like thunder. The core has chosen. Now prove the bond. Ethan and Lyra were led to the pillar. A circle of light formed around them. Lyra's hand slipped into his, cold and shaking. Ethan squeezed it, trying to hide his own nerves. The elder raised his staff. You must hold together. If the core senses deception, the truth will be revealed. The pillar flared bright. A wave of force pushed against them, heavy and suffocating. Ethan's knees bent under the pressure. Beside him, Lyra gasped, her body trembling as faint sparks of energy leaked from her skin. Ethan saw its small arcs of light crawling up her arm, glowing cracks spreading across her skin. She was losing control. He pulled her closer, gripping her tighter. Lyra, stay with me. Her eyes were wide, glowing now like stars breaking apart. I can't. She whispered. The elders leaned forward, watching closely. The guards gripped their weapons. One wrong move, and they would strike. Ethan did the only thing his instincts told him. He wrapped both arms around Lyra and pulled her against his chest. Her trembling slowed. The sparks faded. The cracks of light on her skin dimmed. Slowly, the energy died down until the chamber was silent again. The pillar pulsed once, then dimmed to calm. The elder lowered his staff. His voice was heavy but approving. The core accepts the bond. For now, the words echoed in Ethan's ears. For now. As they were escorted back to their room, Ethan's mind spun. The truth was out, at least for him. She was dangerous. The core had chained them together to keep her from destroying everything. But as he looked at her, her small frame leaning against him, her breath unsteady, her hand still gripping his, he wondered something that scared him more than any trial. Was she really dangerous? Or was she only dangerous because she had been forced to live in fear? The chamber trial had ended, but Ethan's mind could not rest. The elders had accepted the bond for now, but those words clung to him like chains. He knew they were not free. They were only being watched more closely. That evening, the guards came again. One of them announced in his cold metallic tone, "The high table requires your presence. Tonight you dine with the council." Ethan exchanged a glance with Lyra. She looked pale, her hands folded tightly in front of her. He leaned closer and whispered, "What does this mean?" Her reply was faint, almost like a prayer. "It means they want to see if we break." In front of everyone, the walk to the banquet hall felt like a march into a battlefield. Alien citizens filled the corridors, whispering and staring as the human and the petite girl passed by. Ethan's jaw was tight, but his hand never left Lyra's. He knew if he let go, even for a moment, the energy inside her could spark. When the doors opened, Ethan froze. The hall was vast, brighter than any place he had seen in the colony. A long table stretched across the room, covered with strange glowing dishes. At the far end sat the council elders with eyes like stone, their robes trailing across the marble floor. But it wasn't the elders who made Ethan's chest tighten. It was the crowd. Rows of alien nobles and soldiers filled the room, their gazes sharp, their whispers like knives. This wasn't just dinner. This was a stage. The two were guided to their seats at the center of the long table. Lyra sat to Ethan's right, her small frame stiff, her eyes downcast. Across from them, an elder leaned forward, his thin fingers resting on the table. "Tonight," the elder said, his voice echoing across the hall, "we honor the Corps' choice. A human matched with one of our own. The bond must be strong. The bond must be true," the nobles murmured. Some smiled mockingly, others stared with disgust. Ethan felt their eyes on him like daggers. Plates of food were placed before them. The dishes glowed faintly, fruits that pulsed like hearts, meat that shimmered blue, drinks that steamed as if alive. Ethan didn't touch any of it. He kept his eyes on Lyra, who sat frozen, her hands trembling in her lap. Suddenly, she slipped her hand under the table and squeezed his. He turned sharply toward her. Her lips barely moved as she whispered, "Don't let go." "Not tonight," Ethan frowned. "Why? What are they planning?" Her eyes flicked toward the elders. "They are waiting for us to fail. If they see distance, even for a breath, they will know. And they will strike." Ethan's blood ran cold. This wasn't dinner. It was a test in disguise. The elder raised his glass. "To unity," he said, his tone sharp. The entire hall echoed, "To unity." Ethan forced himself to lift his cup. He took a sip of the strange liquid. It burned like fire, but he didn't flinch. Lyra followed, though her hands shook so badly the drink almost spilled. Ethan quickly steadied her, covering her trembling hand with his own. The crowd noticed. Murmurs spread. "Tell us, human," another elder called, his voice smooth but cutting. "Do you truly love your match? Or is this only duty?" The hall went silent. All eyes turned to Ethan. His heart pounded, but he didn't hesitate. He turned toward Lyra, his hand still holding hers, and forced a small smile. "She's my wife," he said firmly. "Duty doesn't make you stay when death is near." But I stayed. A hush spread across the hall. Lyra's eyes widened, her lips parting slightly. For the first time, Ethan saw something flicker inside her, a spark of warmth that wasn't fear. The elder leaned back, studying him. Strong words. But words are air. "The Corps demands proof." Ethan tensed. "What proof?" The elder's lips curved into a thin smile. He lifted his staff and tapped it against the floor. At once, the guards at the edge of the hall moved forward. One dropped a dagger onto the table in front of Ethan. "Cut your hand," the elder said. "Let her bind the wound. If the bond is true, she will heal you. If it is false, she will fail and the Corps will know." The crowd leaned in. Ethan felt every stare pressing on him. He looked at Lyra. Her face was pale, but her eyes, those deep, shimmering eyes, locked on his. "Do it," she whispered. Ethan's grip tightened on the dagger. His soldier's instinct told him not to harm himself in front of enemies. But he saw the terror in her face, the way she needed him to trust her. He pressed the blade across his palm. Blood welled up instantly, dark red against the glowing table. Gasps rose from the crowd. Lyra's hands shot forward, grabbing his bleeding hand. Her eyes glowed faintly. The energy inside her stirred, trembling like a storm barely contained. Ethan felt warmth spread through his palm, burning, but not painful. Slowly, before the eyes of the council, the wound sealed shut. The blood vanished. Only a faint scar remained. The hall erupted with whispers. Some shouted in anger, others in awe. The elder slammed his staff down, silencing them. His voice was sharp. "The bond holds." Ethan looked at Lyra. Her face was pale, sweat on her brow, but she managed a weak smile. For a moment, he forgot the council, the crowd, the danger. For a moment, it was only them, her trembling hands holding his healed palm. But deep inside, he knew the test was only beginning, and he could feel it in his gut. The next trial would not be so easy. Asterisk. The hall was still buzzing with whispers long after Ethan and Lyra were escorted out. The wound on his palm had healed, but his mind was restless. The elders had seen her power. The crowd had seen it. And though they declared the bond strong, Ethan knew the truth. This was only the beginning. Back in their quarters, Lyra slumped against the wall. Her skin looked pale, her eyes dull, as if the act of healing had drained her. Ethan knelt beside her. "You nearly collapsed in there," he said, his voice low. "What exactly did you do to me?" Lyra shook her head weakly. "I didn't just close the cut. I pushed life into you. That is what my energy does. It can destroy, or it can restore." Ethan frowned. "Restore? You mean heal?" Her gaze met his, shimmering with exhaustion. "Not just heal. I can rebuild flesh, bone, even life that has almost left the body. But it comes at a cost. Every time I use it, it takes more of me." Ethan leaned back, stunned. A weapon and a miracle wrapped into one. No wonder the Corps wanted to chain her. "Why me?" he asked again, frustration in his voice. "Why not pair you with one of your own? Why a human?" Lyra's lips curved into a sad smile. "Because my people fear me. They see only danger. But the Corps, it knows that humans are different. When I touch you, the power obeys. It doesn't fight me the way it does with my kind." Her words sent a shiver down Ethan's spine. Obeys? That meant without him, she was chaos. With him, she was balance. Before he could reply, the door hissed open. A guard entered, his eyes cold. "The council demands her presence." Ethan stepped forward. "For what?" The guard ignored him and motioned to Lyra. She rose slowly, her body still trembling. Ethan reached for her hand, but the guard barked, "Not you." "Only her." Ethan's jaw tightened. He knew better than to fight now, not with soldiers outside the door. Lyra gave him one last look before she was led away. The hours crawled by. Ethan paced the small room, fists clenched, until finally the door opened again. Lyra stumbled inside, her knees almost giving out. Ethan caught her before she fell. "What did they do to you?" he demanded. She clung to his arm, her voice shaking. "They tested me. They wanted to see how much power I could use without you near." Ethan's heart sank. "And?" Her eyes filled with tears. "I nearly lost control. The walls burned. They watched me struggle. They enjoyed it." Ethan pulled her against him, anger burning inside. "They're using you like a weapon. That's all this is. You're not their wife, you're their prisoner." Lyra trembled in his arms. For a moment, she let herself lean into him, her head resting against his chest. "If I lose control, Ethan, I could destroy everything. That's why they chained me to you. That's why they'll never let us go." The truth struck deep. Ethan realized something terrifying. Lyra wasn't just valuable to the Corps. She was the Corps' insurance. Her life was leverage, and his presence was the key. Later that night, when she finally drifted into sleep, Ethan sat by the window, staring at the alien towers glowing in the distance. His mind was a storm. He whispered to himself, "She's not just matched to me. She's bound to me. And if I walk away, she dies. If I stay, they'll use us both." But then he looked at her curled on the mat, her silver hair spilling across the floor, her breathing soft but uneven. For the first time in years, Ethan felt something more than duty or survival. He felt responsibility for someone else's life. The silence was broken by a faint sound at the door, a soft scrape, then a whisper. Ethan's soldier instincts kicked in. He moved fast, drawing the small blade he kept hidden. The door slid open just enough for a shadow to appear. A figure cloaked in black slipped inside, moving silently toward Lyra. Ethan stepped forward, blade raised. "Stop right there." The intruder froze. Slowly, the hood was pushed back, revealing a human face. Not alien human. Ethan's eyes widened. "You," Ethan muttered. He recognized the man, Lieutenant Carver, one of his own from the colony's human ranks. Carver raised his hands, a smirk on his lips. "Relax, soldier. I'm not here to kill her. I'm here to set you free." Ethan narrowed his eyes. "What are you talking about?" Carver's voice dropped to a whisper. "That girl, she's not your wife. She's a cage. The Corps is using her to control you. But I have a way out. Leave her and come with me. Together, we can escape the colony before they chain you forever." Ethan's grip on his blade tightened. He glanced back at Lyra, still asleep, fragile and unaware. His heart pounded. This was his chance. Freedom. But freedom meant leaving her behind, in the hands of those who wanted to break her. Carver's smirk widened. "Choose wisely, Ethan. The girl. Or your life." Ethan's mind burned with the weight of the choice. His own brother-in-arms offering him escape, but at the cost of betraying the only one who truly needed him. Ethan's blade stayed pointed at Carver's chest. The other man didn't flinch. His smirk held, calm and mocking, as if he already knew what Ethan would do. "You don't get it, Ethan," Carver said quietly. "The Corps doesn't care about you. You're just a leash tied around her neck. Once they're done testing, they'll kill you or worse, keep you chained to her until you break. I'm giving you a chance. Freedom." Ethan's grip tightened. His jaw clenched. He glanced at Lyra, still asleep on the mat. Her silver hair shimmered faintly, her breathing uneven. She looked fragile, but he knew the truth now inside her was enough power to wipe out the colony. Freedom at her expense. Ethan growled. Carver's smirk twisted. "She's not your problem. She's a danger, Ethan. That girl isn't your wife. She's a bomb waiting to explode. When she loses control, she'd take you with her." The words dug into Ethan's chest like knives. He wanted to deny them, but the memory of Lyra's trembling hands, the sparks crackling across her skin, burned in his mind. Still, something inside him refused to step back. He lowered his blade just slightly. If this is about freedom, then why sneak in like a thief? Why not confront the council yourself? Carver's smirk faded, his eyes hardening. "Because I already did. And they turned me down. They don't want strong humans, they want obedient ones. I won't bow to them. And neither should you." Before Ethan could reply, Lyra stirred. Her eyes fluttered open, and she sat up, blinking in confusion. Then she saw Carver. Her face went pale. "You," she whispered. "You told them." Ethan's stomach dropped. He turned sharply toward Carver. "Told them what?" Lyra's voice cracked. "It was him. He told the council that I couldn't control my power. He betrayed us." Carver's calm smile didn't waver. "I only told the truth. She's unstable, Ethan. You think you're saving her? You're only delaying the explosion. The council doesn't trust her. They're watching for the first chance to eliminate her. And when they do, you'll be cast out like trash." Ethan stepped forward, fury burning in his eyes. "You sold her out for your own gain," Carver shrugged. "Better her than us. Better one dangerous alien gone than a whole colony destroyed. Think about it, Ethan. Whose side are you really on? Hers or your own people's?" The room felt colder. Ethan's mind raced. He remembered the looks of the human soldiers in the colony, resentful, suspicious of the alien council. Carver wasn't lying about one thing. The humans were pawns here. But the way Carver spoke so calm about sacrificing Lyra made Ethan's blood boil. Lyra's voice trembled. "Please, Ethan. Don't leave me. If they take me away, I won't survive." Her hand reached for his. Ethan froze, torn between the two paths: Carver's offer of escape, or Lyra's desperate plea for trust. Carver's voice cut in, sharp and final. Last chance. Come with me and live. Stay with her and die when she does. Ethan met Carver's gaze. His decision came fast like a gunshot. I don't abandon those who trust me. Carver's smirk finally faded. Then you're a fool. In one motion, Carver lunged. Ethan barely blocked in time, their blades clashing with a metallic scream. Lyra gasped, stumbling back as sparks lit the room. Ethan fought hard, every strike filled with anger, but Carver was faster than he expected. Years of training together showed in every move. You're wasting yourself on her. Carver shouted between blows. You could have been free. Ethan growled through his teeth, forcing Carver back a step. Freedom built on betrayal isn't freedom. It's slavery with a different mask. Carver roared and swung wide, but Ethan twisted, slamming his fist into the man's jaw. Carver staggered, blood at the corner of his mouth. Then the door burst open. Alien guards stormed inside, weapons raised. They saw the fight, the blades, the blood. Their leader pointed at Lyra. Take her. No, Ethan shouted, but it was too late. Two guards grabbed Lyra, dragging her toward the door. Her scream tore through the room, raw and desperate. Ethan. He fought to reach her, but Carver blocked his path, blade flashing. Let her go, Ethan. Save yourself. Ethan's rage exploded. He slammed Carver against the wall, knocking the blade from his hand. But by the time he turned, the guards were gone, Lyra's cries echoing down the hall as the door slammed shut. The silence left behind was deafening. Ethan's chest heaved, his fists shaking. Carver lay on the ground, laughing bitterly through bloodied lips. You can't win, Ethan. They'll break her. And when they do, she burn everything. Ethan's jaw tightened. He picked up his blade, his eyes burning with fire. Then I'll burn them first. Carver's laughter echoed in the small room as Ethan stormed toward the door. Lyra was gone. The council had taken her, and Ethan knew one thing with absolute certainty. He would not let them keep her. Ethan didn't sleep. He didn't stop to eat. He didn't stop to think. The moment Lyra was dragged away, his mind became a single blade-sharp, focused, unbreakable dot. He moved through the silent corridors of the colony like a shadow, every step carrying the weight of rage and desperation. He asked no permission. He waited for no orders. He was going to get her back or die trying. The guards at the high tower never saw him coming. Two fell before they could shout. Another slumped with a broken arm. Ethan wasn't just a soldier, he was a storm that refused to stop. Finally, he reached the chamber of the council. The doors loomed tall and black, humming with energy. He shoved them open. The sight inside made his blood run hot. Lyra was chained at the center of the hall. Her small body trembled as sparks of light crawled across her skin, forcing her power out. The elders surrounded her, chanting low words, their eyes glowing. One elder looked up, voice cutting through the hall. You should not be here, human. This is beyond you. Ethan stepped forward, blade in hand, eyes blazing. You're wrong. She is mine. And I am hers. The elders exchanged glances. The eldest raised his staff. She is dangerous. She cannot be controlled. For the survival of the colony, she must be broken or destroyed. Lyra's voice cracked, tears in her eyes. Ethan, don't fight them. If you stay, they'll kill you. But Ethan only shook his head. I told you, I don't abandon those who trust me. The chamber floor shook as the elders lifted their staffs, the core's power filling the air. Lyra cried out as the chains pulsed with light, forcing her energy to burst free. The air bent, walls trembling. A wave of raw force blasted across the hall. Ethan staggered but pushed forward. He grabbed her hands, ignoring the burning sparks that scorched his skin. "Lyra, look at me." Her glowing eyes met his. "I can't. It's too much. I'll destroy you. Then destroy me holding your hand," Ethan growled, pulling her closer. "But don't face this alone." Her lips parted, trembling. For the first time, the fear in her eyes shifted into trust. The power surged again, stronger than before. But this time, Ethan didn't pull away. He pulled her against him, wrapping his arms around her as if nothing else in the universe mattered. The sparks that once threatened to tear her apart flowed into him, bending, softening, calming. The elders gasped. Their staffs flickered. The core's pillar dimmed. The eldest roared, "Impossible. No one can contain her power." Ethan's voice rang out, steady and fierce. "Not contain, share." And in that moment, the energy shifted. The destructive light softened into warmth. The cracks in the floor sealed. The air calmed. Lyra's trembling stopped. Together, they stood in the center of the storm, and the storm obeyed them. The council watched in silence, their robes trembling in the fading wind. For the first time, they looked not like rulers, but like frightened men. Ethan turned his gaze on them, fire in his eyes. "She's not your weapon. She's not your prisoner. She's my wife. And I'll fight anyone who says otherwise." The eldest elder's staff shook. "You defy the core?" Ethan tightened his grip on Lyra's hand. "No, I rewrite it." The chamber went silent. Then, slowly, the pillar of the core pulsed once more. But this time, its voice did not come from the elders. It came from everywhere, deep, booming, undeniable. "The bond is true. The bond is unbreakable." The elders froze, their faces pale. The core itself had spoken. The match was real. Lyra looked up at Ethan, tears on her cheeks, but her smile was brighter than any light. "You chose me," she whispered. Ethan brushed his forehead against hers. "Always." The chains around her shattered into dust. The power in her body faded into calm. And together, hand in hand, they walked out of the chamber as the stunned council bowed their heads in silence. Outside, the colony's people gathered, waiting to see what had happened. When they saw Lyra free and the human soldier beside her, whispers turned into cheers. Some bowed. Some reached out their hands. For the first time, the people did not see her as a curse. They saw her as hope. Ethan glanced at Lyra. "Looks like we just started a war we can't walk away from." Lyra's small smile grew. "Then we fight it together." As the night sky opened above them, filled with strange alien stars, Ethan realized the truth. This wasn't just survival anymore. This was destiny. And for the first time since he'd arrived in this broken colony, he didn't feel like a prisoner. He felt free because he had chosen her.